Okay, welcome to our Erev Shabbat class, Parashat Nasso, largest parasha in the Torah, 176 Pesukim. The great opportunity that we have, and I'm referring to the great blessing that is located in Parashat Nasso, nestled in between the laws of Sotah and Nazir, and afterwards the gifts of the Nisi'im, the presidents of the tribe, is a very short passage of 5 Pesukim, called Birkat Kohanim. Technically, 3 Pesukim. There's one verse that leads up to it, or you can say 2 if you count by the Ber Adonai Moshe Lemor, and 1 which follows, and then 3 Pesukim that make up the content of Birkat Kohanim. So let's talk about how amazing this beracha is. When I say opportunity, of course, for Sfaradim, everywhere in the world, it's a daily opportunity. For Ashkenazim in Eretz Yisrael, it's a daily opportunity. And for Ashkenazim elsewhere in the world, it comes up on the holidays. So first, let's speak about the background, the history to this amazing beracha. This beracha actually began from Abraham Avinu, as we know that Hashem alluded to this when he told Abraham in the first encounter that we see in the beginning of Parashat Lech Lecha. And he told him, but the first thing he tells him, I'll make you into a great nation. I'm going to exalt and elevate your name, and I will make you into a beracha. Of course, the many commentaries talk about how you become a beracha, which is something that's intangible. And one of the midrashim speak about the fact there will be a tribe that emanates from you, namely the tribe of Levi, and that will be a tribe that will be a blessing tribe. And Abraham then subsequently asks, well, who will bless them? And Hashem says, I'll bless them, they'll bless Israel. So the concept was already embedded in Am Yisrael's existence from our father, Abraham Avinu. Now, we know that if you look at the entire Torah, is there any other official, scheduled, periodic, divine beracha that exists? You have to think that Hashem is always blessing Am Yisrael, and there are, of course, the parashiot of the blessings and the curses. There's a positive consequence for our good actions. We'll receive blessings, but those are facts. They aren't formal words that are spoken that are divine, great gestures from Hashem of blessing. We do find in the parasha of what we call Vidui Bikurim, Vidui Ma'ased, where the person that has to give Ma'ased from his produce and all the other type of gifts to Kohanim and Leviim has to confess after the third of the sabbatical year. And part of the confession is a prayer to God. Please Hashem, bless us. So you see, there's an official prayer from an individual to ask for a blessing, but to have tailor-made, actual content and what's called milim kivu'im, established terminologies as a beracha from God, we see existing nowhere else. And we see that going back to the history, it actually was something that was used throughout history as early as Aharon HaKohen. And it seems that before Hashem officially commanded, or maybe afterwards, if there's a difference in the order of parashiot, where in the opening day of the Mishkan, Aharon HaKohen, it says, came out, V'yasa Aharon et Yadav, of the newly inaugurated Mishkan, El Ha'am, V'yibarechem, and he blessed the nation. There, Rashi says, it was indeed Birkat Kohanim. That was before this parasha. So it's either that the command of this parasha was earlier, or Aharon just knew somehow, spontaneously, through his prophecy, give them such a beracha. But Aharon HaKohen was already blessing the nation from the desert. We see later in the Mishnah Masechet Tamid that part of the protocol in the Bet HaMikdash on a daily basis in the mornings, they read Aseret Deberot, they read Shema, V'Haya, a few other berachot, and it says they blessed Birkat Kohanim. So this was a procedure done every single morning by the Kohanim in the Beit HaMikdash every day. So from as early as Abraham, throughout the stay in the desert, from the construction of the Mishkan, the Beit HaMikdash, this was an official ceremony, this blessing that took place in the official context of the service to God and Am Yisrael for centuries and millennia. Even after the destruction, we know that the Mizvat Aseh, the positive commandment, remained, and therefore we have the opportunity in the setting according to Sfaradim daily and Ashkenazim in Israel daily, in a setting of a minyan, in a sanctuary, we actually continue fulfilling this. We can say that from the time it was commanded until today, a day has not gone by in Jewish history that Am Yisrael has not taken advantage of this great tool and used this beracha as a great opportunity to be blessed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, up until the very pictures that we see sent out on videos, especially preceding every holiday, where in the Kotel HaMa'arabi, can we have ever dreamed this 100 years ago, where tens and thousands of people of Kohanim are by the place of condensed Shekhinah, by the Kotel, as close as you can get to where they used to do it way back when, and blessing the nation of Birkat Kohanim. It's alive and it's well. The history from Abraham until 2023, uninterrupted. Let's talk a little bit about the actual content of the beracha. Let's talk about the fact that this beracha is not only exclusive, not only historic, but the actual Pesukim have some amazing, what we'll call scope and sequence. We know, as we said, there's 3 Pesukim. They form a wonderful pyramid if you stack them on top of each other, because they're equidistant in the manner of progression of amount of words and volume of letters. First Pasuk 3, followed by 5, followed by 7 words, adding up to 15. And the amount of letters in each Pasuk, 15, followed by 20, followed by 25. The spacing of 2 words, 2-word progression of every pasuk, and 5-letter progression of every pasuk. The second word in every pasuk is Shem Hashem. Barucha Adonai b'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav lecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav lecha v'yasem lecha shalom. What symmetry and sequence that we see. There's significance that's spoken about in terms of the meaning behind some of these numbers, you can say. The Haidah speaks about the fact that the 3 Pesukim, non-coincidentally, as you can imagine, align to our 3 Abot. When we want to speak about Beracha, we cash in to the founders of our nation. The 15 words, he says, correspond to the 15 most blessed years in Jewish history. What are the 15 most blessed years in Jewish history? The 15 years that Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov coexisted, where they lived on planet Earth at the same time. Because we know that Abraham passed away when Yaakov was 15. Yaakov and Esau were 15. And they lived on Earth, and they coexisted for 15 years. What could be greater time of blessing? And so there's correspondence there in terms of those numbers. The Midrash says 60 letters, 15, 20, 25, adding up to 60 letters, corresponding to the 60 curses in Parashat Bechukotai, where the Midrash speaks about the fact that 60 letters of Beracha are unconditional, while the 60 curses in Parashat Bechukotai are conditional only on our errors and flaws, right? But these remain consistent as 60 blessed letters all the time. So incredible amount of meaning, pattern, sequence, and there's a lot more behind it. But with all of that, we can ask 2 very fair questions. One is, why is it that we require a Birkat Kohanim? I mean, God really offers a blessing. What do you need Kohanim? We have a few wonderful Kohanim around us right now. fact, half the room is Kohanim as I speak. And as great as they are, what do we need them for? We have God, right? Why the Kohanim? That's a very fair question. Obviously, a very commonly asked question. Why can't God bless us directly? Another fair question is, as we know, according to halakha, as long as it's not a serious blemish with the Kohen, any particular Kohen, you don't have to be a great Talmid Chacham to offer this blessing, and that seems like the source maybe can be a little weak at times. Why would we want such a thing? Of course, not present company excluded. There could be a Kohen that doesn't measure up and yet still qualifies for the blessing. So the Sefer HaChinuch, this eloquent way, speaks about the idea of, and the concept behind the Birkat Kohanim. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, has a chosen priestly tribe, and they're there to serve God with purity. Ultimately, that was their objective as a sign from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They merited that distinction. And Hashem really very much wants to bestow goodness upon all of his creations. God is all about Tov. Vayar Elohim ki Tov. The world was created based on the pure goodness of our Creator. He only creates. He only emanates goodness. He wants to bestow that, especially upon his chosen nation. That's a, so to speak, quote unquote, desire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does he want to do that? Says the Sefer HaChinuch, every beracha where goodness is bestowed upon us requires a receptacle. It requires a wanting, desiring endpoints, a people that want to be that receptacle and receiving point of the beracha, and to merit that to some extent with mizvot. And if built into this very same blessing is a command, which therefore obeying the command of God, i.e. performing a mizvah, inherently in the same mizvah will then trigger our meriting that blessing. Listen to me, perform the blessing and you'll get the blessing. It's almost a catch-22, but it works to our favor. It also requires our desire for the blessing. How do we express our desire for the blessing? You have to want to be blessed. You go to a great team in Hacham, please Hacham, bless me. If the Hacham ran after you and gave you the blessing and you cared not for it, how effective would that blessing be? So we need to be a receptacle and deserve it and pursue it on the other hand. How do we pursue it? We pursue it by soliciting God's chosen tribe, the tribe of purity, of action and thought, and say, guys, I would love you to act as the conduit between God and ourselves, and thereby receive that blessing. When we become a receptacle, and when we show the desire to receive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gladly does what he intended on doing anyway, which is bestowing goodness and blessing upon his wonderful chosen nation. And therefore, the superstructure, the way the system works, is all to our benefit. Of course, it emanates from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but going through Kohanim is the way that the beracha is most effective, as explained by Sefer HaChinuch. The Rambam further explains that, yeah, I know, a Kohen can be subpar, but guess what? The blessing's coming from God anyway. You're following God's command. The original ultimate structure is that they are the most priestly people. And so even if they're not, by obeying the protocol as lined up and spelled out by God, so you are deserving to engage in this process, and it's going to be effective in any way, regardless of the status of the Kohen. So we've spoken about the exclusive nature of the beracha, the history behind it, the structure and the sequence of it, and also the conceptual idea. Let's just speak a brief word. And really, if you put all this together so far, what do we have? We have God's desire, the creator of the world's want, to bestow goodness upon a people in an ultimate setting, in a periodic fashion, and in a manner that he's already proven to do so from the beginning of the Jewish history until now, consistently. Those words alone, without speaking one word of meaning behind and depth underneath the beracha, just being blind and ignorant is enough for us to be pursuing this beracha. Of course, in these 60 letters and 50 words is incredible depth, an incredible meaning, and very deep concepts and ideas and philosophy. We are not going to go through all of them. Suffice it to say that there are multiple commentaries and different approaches, and they all coexist and they're all true. I created, not recently, but years ago, a chart just of some of the major commentaries. I have here 5 of them. There are many others as to how they look at those 3 verses of blessing, thematically, what the ideas behind them, but just in general, to go through some of the different approaches and to understand, and again, they do not contradict each other, they coexist, and to understand the power within the verbiage, the word, the language of this beracha. Rashi, of course, famously, as well as Ibn Ezra, speak about the first pasuk as one of praying for sustenance, and the second one of general beracha and God's will, again, and desire to bless us and to grant us all our heart's desires, so to speak. And the third pasuk being one where God overlooks sometimes the wrongdoings that we perpetrate, and in fact looks upon us in a positive way only, instead of what could have been in a negative way due to our avirot. Sforno was an absolutely different approach. The Sforno explains this is a blessing. They are blessings that facilitate our growth in Torah, and uses the words like Ya'er Hashem Panav, light, face, as being enlightening ideas where our eyes are opened up to Torah, where Kadosh Baruch Hu blesses us in a way that we are able to understand and appreciate the insights and the beauty and depth of His Torah, where Kadosh Baruch Hu blesses us because of our learning of Torah. That is the very focused theme, according to him. While on the other hand, the Or HaHayim HaKadosh, in a very profound presentation of Birkat Kohanim, speaks about how this beracha, first of all, is the most pure of blessings you could receive. Even from a great Hacham, we're only human. Everyone has even some inkling of flaw. This is the most purest of berachot, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tailor makes it to us according to the needs of every single individual, and where Ya'er Hashem Panav is so direct, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu removes the barriers between us and Him. And the blessing is that we have a relationship. We foster this great interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that opens the doors to unlimited blessing. And so such an intimate beracha, according to Or HaHayim. Well, according to the great Emek Davad, he speaks about how this beracha is designed for individuals in a way that an individual can tangibly feel how HaKadosh Baruch Hu has actually made a specific custom-made blessing for each and every single Jew. Sustenance, protection, spiritual blessing of Torah, relationship with God, individualized, and on and on and on. This is the blessing for the ages. This is the blessing that
took place today when it really took
because of its power, and take advantage of, because there is no source like it. There is no impact like it.
Somebody explain it.
History behind it, like in our history, in Am Yisrael, where Baruch Hu, the creator of the world, wants so much to bless his nation. We should want so much to receive that blessing. Be conscious of it, be appreciative of this opportunity that we all always have on a daily basis, engage in it, and have a mental relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu while hearing that beracha. And the more we do so, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu would bless us, and the more this continues to be the great gift from Hashem to us. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen. Shabbat